So first off, could you just explain what the FoundationOne Liquid CDx is and how it works?
The FoundationOne Liquid CDx is a liquid biopsy test. So it looks at the free-floating DNA in a cancer patient and sequences this in order to identify their genomic signature. And it's been a long process to get this from development now to FDA approval. And the FDA approval is around two CDx claims, a targeted therapy for lung cancer and a targeted therapy for prostate cancer, but also provides a profiling opportunity for any cancer patient to understand the genetics of their cancer to help an oncologist guide them to the right treatment.
So why is the recent approval of this companion diagnostic so important?
Liquid biopsy tests have been around for a number of years now. To date, tests have largely been single gene tests. And what we've worked very hard to do is find a test that can offer a comprehensive answer for patients' genetics in a single blood test. And that's what this test does. This test sequences over 300 different genes, key genes that explain sensitivity to targeted therapies. It gives key genetic signatures about the mutational burden and MSI high. And these signatures and these genetic targets allow patients to find effective therapies and tap into precision cancer medicine opportunities. And I think our hope is that that's going to lead to better outcomes for patients, less toxicity, and overall a better experience in their journey against cancer.
So could you explain a little bit more what led to the approval of the liquid biopsy?
Sure. The process of FDA approval is, of course, a complicated one where, through submission of a large analytic validity and clinical validity process covering thousands of different replicates and tests, what you do is you evaluate the rigor and validity of these results. And what we found is that this test is reliable. And that's what this FDA approval is. It means that we finally made it through this gauntlet to say you can trust this test. It's a test that does not give out false positives. It's a test that's highly sensitive in order to find these genetic targets with a couple key limitations, which is that when it does not find the target you're looking for, a liquid biopsy might have impaired sensitivity because of inadequate circulating tumor DNA. And so in that situation, oncologists need to be ready to reflex to a tissue test as a reliable backup test to figure out the answer for that patient. And so this FDA approval explains to patients and to oncologists how to use this test reliably to guide the care of cancer patients.
So is there any other ongoing research that may lead to further approvals of this companion diagnostic?
Foundation Medicine is committed to evolving our technologies to meet the needs of cancer patients. That's been a long process, even in liquid biopsies, where this is actually our third generation test, growing off prior tests, the first generation and the second generation test. And I think right now we're trying to make the test even better, and additional effort is ongoing to add additional companion diagnostic claims to really demonstrate the actionability of these results to guide to lots of different targeted therapies. So that is certainly a commitment of ours. Not only that, we are working on a portfolio of other liquid biopsy tools that we could use to further guide precision cancer medicine.
Great. So for patients who may not understand medical jargon and may not understand how this test works, could you just give a brief explanation of how this test works?
Sure. Let's first understand what next generation sequencing is, which is taking DNA, submitting it to sequence many different genes again and again in a precise fashion to figure out a genetic target. That process historically has used a tissue biopsy. And that tissue biopsy is a reliable source of tumor DNA, but it's not always available. Not all patients have a biopsy immediately accessible. Not all biopsies are adequate for testing. And what that means is that many patients haven't gotten access to this really powerful diagnostic tool. Can we make this test more accessible to patients? Yes. And we do that through a blood test. And so now you can, in conversations with your oncologist, ask for a blood test, which allows you to draw out DNA. That DNA is a mixture of the patient's DNA, of white blood cell DNA, and a small portion of tumor DNA is floating around in cancer patients. And through a very deep, detailed sequencing approach, we can figure out that needle in the haystack and find out what explains that patient's cancer now non-invasively. The only caveat being that if the tumor DNA level in the blood is low, you might miss a signature. And so a negative result reflexes back to a tissue biopsy. But if there is adequate tumor DNA circulating, you can get a very reliable result out of a blood test, thus empowering more patients to take advantage of this technology.
So that's all I had for you. Is there anything that I didn't ask you that you think is worth mentioning in this space?
We are committed to making this accessible to all patients, and not only through making you able to order it, it can be ordered as of today, not only through getting results back in a timely fashion, and we're aiming to have results back reliably within 10 days, but also through making it affordable for patients. We already will have reimbursement from many insurers, and so that's a key piece to making sure patients can take advantage of this and can use it day one.
Great. Well, thank you so much for taking the time to speak with me. I really do appreciate it.
My pleasure. Thanks.